I was advertised green beans, I was not advertised a green bean lake. Well, good morning and welcome back to the channel. I have some very sad and perhaps concerning news to share with you guys today. Last week when my son went to daycare, he came in contact with another child who was carrying an airborne illness. Because my son is 4 and has a tendency to put all kinds of things in his mouth, he contracted this virus and had to stay home with me for a couple of days. Unfortunately, now I'm down for the count. I'm shivering, I'm sweaty, I feel rotten all the way through. So while I don't mean to alarm you, unfortunately, I have been afflicted with the man cold. Man colds shouldn't be taken lightly. They are crippling diseases. It's high time that society destigmatized this horrible illness and stop calling us big babies. And I'm a man speaking from experience. I've had 6 major surgeries over the course of my lifetime, and this trumps them all. As a result, with Thanksgiving coming up this weekend, I'm probably going to be isolated from my family. This is not the first time. I was a single man for many decades, spending plenty of Thanksgivings by myself. But still, you deserve a full, appropriate Thanksgiving meal. A hearty serving of meat, probably some mashed potatoes, a hard-to-decipher vegetable, and of course, dessert. And you're probably asking me at this point, Chris, is there actually a brand out there that can encompass all those things in a box that comes with toxic masculinity as well as deep, lonely sadness? And to you I say, of course there is. You know it well. It's Hungry Man. I've acquired all 9 of the Hungry Man dinners that exist in Canada. The USA has many, many more, but I'm currently banned from entering your country due to the fact that your president does not like Canadians. Or possibly a pandemic. It's one or the other. So we'll be focusing on these 9 dinners this week, focusing on eating 3 a day and enjoying them today, Wednesday, and Friday. By the end of the week, we should have compiled enough data to determine which of these would make the ultimate Thanksgiving dinner. The format I'm choosing to use for this one is a 25-point scale. We're going to rate it first on the main course, the meat, which is the star of the dish. We're going to be ranking that out of 10. Secondly, the side dishes, which will also be out of 10 because nothing can bring down a dinner more than a terrible side dish. The side dish is often the underrated star. And finally, we're going to be ranking dessert out of 5. And you might be asking me, Chris, why are we doing this out of 5? Dessert's very important. And I'm with you. Pumpkin pie, for example, is one of my favorite desserts on the entire planet, and I very much look forward to it on Thanksgiving. However, the truth about Thanksgiving is this, is that you have sat back just hammering down plate after plate of dinner, and by the time dessert rolls around, you're lying back digesting like a snake, but you see that pumpkin pie that you love so much, so you're forcing it down. You're not enjoying it as much as everything else that you've enjoyed up to that point. You're going through an exercise of necessity. So that gets ranked out of 5. And actually, let's make this a scale out of 30. And I know you're like, Chris, what's going on? I'm congested. There's a lot of things happening at once right now. Never forget, I'm suffering from a man cold. The final 5 points will be on how well it's represented against the picture from the box. I want the food to look exactly the same as the beautiful imagery that Swanson's Hungry Man has presented us with. I'll be cooking each of these following the exact microwave instructions provided on the box. I've been told doing it in the oven is a much better way of achieving better food, but let's be honest, nobody cooks their Hungry Man that way. You get it because you want cheap and easy convenience. Let's just be thankful I'm not cooking it the way most of you are cooking it, which is to hit the high power button for 5 minutes, where the brownie is scalding hot and rubbery, the meat may still be frozen in the middle, and the vegetables appear to be some sort of side pudding. All right, let's see which Hungry Mans I am eating today. The first Hungry Man we're going to dive into is the Hungry Man Jumbo Pumpkin. I've still got pumpkin on my mind. Let's try this again. It's the Hungry Man Jumbo Popcorn-shaped chicken croquets or croquettes. I don't know how you say that. I can tell you already we're going to be seeing an awful lot of corn as we go through this. There's no wild descriptions on the back, but I want to share a confusing part of the microwave oven instructions. You'll see on step 3, it asks us to stir the potatoes. But prior to that, if we were going through this step by step, the only thing we've been asked to open was the sauce and the chicken. I struggled to understand how I was going to stir the potatoes given I had not been given instructions at any point to remove the film from the potatoes. And it's only when I skipped ahead to the end of the line I realized, recover film? Oh, I probably should have uncovered the potatoes first. We're hungry men, we're not smart men. Swanson, clearer instructions if you wouldn't mind. So let's take a look at this supper and see how it compares to the artwork on the box. In terms of artwork, I'm going to give this a 5 out of 5. If you've eaten as many TV dinners as I have over the course of your life, and if you haven't, I'm not sure why you're watching this, but then you'd know the intense disappointment of removing the film from your food and looking at what appears to be a plate full of vomit as opposed to anything edible. However, do you see a problem here? Where's my dessert? Barbecue sauce is not a dessert. I'm not thinking any of you have ever asked Grandma to pass you a plate full of barbecue sauce at the end of your Thanksgiving meal. I mean, I have. But for you, the normal consumer, we're gonna give this a 0. So let's get into this chicken. I agree with the written assessment that these are jumbo popcorn chickens, but I've never seen a piece of popcorn this big. I'm gonna try it first without the barbecue sauce, and then we'll go in and give the barbecue sauce a try too to see how it accompanies it. So the breading is soggy, which is to be expected inside of a TV dinner. Getting crispy chicken is a near impossibility. If you put it in the oven, I'm guessing you would get that experience, but nobody does that. The other thing I want to comment on the chicken though is how well seasoned that it is. There's like this rich pepperiness inside the breading, which does help overcome some of the sogginess of the breading. Not entirely, I don't like soggy chicken. Loading this up with lots of barbecue sauce. I don't much care for that barbecue sauce. Something's off with it. It's trying to be too many things. I could do without the barbecue sauce. I like the chicken as it is as a standalone. So in terms of a TV dinner, you can't expect crispy chicken as long as you lower your expectations. Lowered expectations, I believe, is the motto of the Hungry Man brand. I'm gonna give this a solid 8 out of 10. Good work on the main course. Next up, my stirred potatoes. That is a boxed mashed potato. These have never been potatoes. These are potatoes in name only. I hate the boxed potato. And I've had some that are better than others. This is on the low end. We live in an era where you can fake rich, buttery flavor very easily. So why aren't we doing that, Hungry Man? It would at least cover up that cardboard flakiness flavor that you get with fake potatoes. We're off to a poor start. It's gonna have to be salvaged by corn if they're looking to pick up some extra points. What is wrong with that corn? I mean, it looks like corn. It's got a corn-like flavor to it, but the texture is just strange. It's got this weird, crunchy, chewy, sticky, slimy thing going on. That corn is not of this earth. This is space corn. Poor display on the side dishes. We're gonna give this a 2 out of 10, bringing our grand total for this particular dish to a 15. But I'm not the only person on the planet who has enjoyed this Hungry Man meal. I've got customer reviews for us. Okay, I wasn't able to find anything on Amazon for this one, but I do have some from Walmart. And we're gonna start with Beaker Bob. And Beaker Bob says, prison food. It just reminds me of prison food, lol. The taste isn't horrible though. I personally haven't experienced prison, apparently Beaker Bob has, so I'm gonna take him at his word that this is prison food, but on the high end because it's not terrible. Next up we have Walmart Critic 1. Important not to confuse with Walmart Critic 2 and 3, who have their own set of views and opinions on things. This is Walmart Critic 1, who gives this 5 stars and writes, good. I buy this one if I ever feel like an urge for TV dinner. The chicken is good, I like the sauce, not crazy on the powdered potack, but the chicken makes up for it. For the price, they could at least give us a real potato. I'm glad they were able to overlook the potack and still give it 5 stars out of 5 stars. I personally could not, so we're gonna stick with that score of 15 out of 30. All right, let's go make another supper. Our second meal is the Hungry Man seasoned Salisbury beef steakettes in delicious gravy with mashed potatoes, green beans, and a brownie. So first, I'll confess I did not follow the cooking instructions to a T on this one. At 4.5 minutes, it asks you to remove the brownie, but take a look at this. My brownie was still swimming in a chocolate lake full of stuff. So I cooked it for the entire time, and well, we'll see what that looks like in a moment. Once again, they didn't instruct us to remove any film from the potatoes, but I'm an expert at this point, so I figured it out. So let's take a look at this colorful box art. You start with the Salisbury steak, which of course is an American classic of just finding different ways to use ground beef in exactly the same way and call it different foods. A lovely pile of mashed potatoes, which I'm guessing is still the boxed variety, some crispy looking green beans, and a nice big fluffy brownie to wash it all down. Okay, let's see how it turned out in contrast to the box. Well, it's close. As we discussed in the last segment, close probably isn't that bad in the TV dinner world. This one's a little bit worse off than the jumbo popcorn chicken that we had previously though. Specifically, this. I was advertised green beans, I was not advertised a green bean lake. I'm pretty sure there's enough water in here to get your daily recommended intake. It's advertised as a full pound of food, but I'm thinking at least 3/4 of a pound of it are the water in which my green beans are swimming. And the brownie more closely resembles an asteroid than food. Now let's see if we got the grill marks. Well, we have something resembling grill marks. There's these tiny little vague black lines. They look like mouse droppings. Okay. So in terms of the box art, I'd say this gets a good 3.5 out of 5. The meat cut really easily, and I'm thinking it's probably got an awful lot of binders in here, combined with the fact it's almost certainly a gelatinous, pulpy slurry that's been beaten to death. Gelatinous pulpy slurry used to be my online dating game. That's really good. It's got almost a mushroom flavor to it, and I'm thinking it might be the gravy. I'm gonna try to get a piece with as little gravy on it as I can. The flavor's really good. It reminds me of a really top quality cafeteria food you might have gotten in high school. It definitely smells like a divorced father's apartment. So in terms of this, I'm gonna give this a 7 out of 10. Really good main course. Not as good as the chicken that we had previously, but still a solid meal. Let's see if these potatoes remain exactly the same potatoes as last time. Same crappy boxed potatoes. But maybe this is a cheat. Maybe I should just be enjoying them on their own, but let's get some of that mushroom onion gravy on it. Now it's edible. See, and I wouldn't want to mix barbecue sauce to my potatoes, so don't come at me going, hey, you didn't do that with the chicken. No, because I didn't want to. Nobody mixes barbecue sauce in with their potatoes, and if you do, you're weird. It definitely helps the potatoes in this round. Gravy always does. And that is one sad, sad green bean. I'm glad that it had a little bit of crunch in it, and it's not like that soggy, canned, Depression-era green bean. You know, the one you always got at Grandma's house. There's so many of you nodding right now going, oh, we know. But those still aren't good. As a vegetable, it's still not doing anything for me, but the potatoes, they're improved. So I'll give them a 3 out of 10. And finally, the brownie. Well, it is soft. I was afraid it might be rock hard after all the cookage I put it through. But, yeah, you got a soft, nice little brownie there. It's not sweet. Like, I'm vaguely getting some chocolate in there, but it's hardly there. It's a warm, spongy nothing. If they dyed this yellow and called it cornbread, I'd probably believe them. This is nothing. This isn't dessert. Neither helps nor hurts it. I get that was gross. It's really not if you tasted the brownie. 1 out of 5. So way to go, Salisbury Steak. You're making the town of Salisbury, Maryland, very, very proud. I'd almost forgotten to get to the customer reviews of this one. I'd actually run downstairs to start preparing my 3rd meal. But what you have to say is important too. I'm not the only voice on the internet. I should be, but I'm not. So we have a bunch for this one that I've managed to weed through and find, and we're gonna start with Charles Bailey, who gives this 5 stars and writes, I saw Andy Pettit eating one raw on the subway. Good enough for him, good enough for me. How many times can you say you've been lucky enough to catch somebody like Yankees legend Andy Pettit riding the subway with you? Judging by his attire and slovenly appearance, old Andy looks like he may have gambled most of his baseball money away. but he still appears to be in peak physical condition. I walked over to ask for an autograph, only to realize he was noisily gobbling down an uncooked Hungry Man Salisbury steak frozen dinner. A piece of corn was stuck to his chin and gravy was smeared across his face. He saw me approaching, clutched the dinner closely to his chest in a protective gesture, stared at me with wild, accusing eyes. "Mine, mine!" he screamed, spraying half-chewed pieces of cold, raw Salisbury steak in my direction. I went back to my seat with a new perspective on the man, but even with everything that had changed about him, you can't deny a 3.86 lifetime ERA. If it's good enough for Andy without being cooked, I can only imagine how good it will be once it's heated up. Charles, I'm going to call this a fake review. There was a lot in here I found to be credible. Most of what you wrote about Andy Pettitte is what I remember about him as a Yankee, the kind of man who'd ride the subway and eat raw Hungry Man dinners. But you mentioned there was a piece of corn stuck to his chin, and there's absolutely no corn in this Salisbury steak meal. Charles, you're a fraud. Thankfully, Alan Newell Smith is here and writes, "Good," giving it 5 stars, and says, "Good. Would like to see roast beef added to choice." I personally don't crave roast beef while having my Salisbury steak, but apparently Alan wants a 2-for-1. William writes, 5 stars. By far the world's best TV dinner. By far the world's best TV dinner. I wish they would do apple pie instead of the brownie, but this gets a 5-star gourmet at-home option. What I find interesting is that so many people give these 5 stars and then immediately criticize half the dinner. If you've got these many issues with the meal itself, why are we giving it 5 stars? Maybe this is what old people mean when they complain that all we do is give participation trophies. They're talking about all the 5-star reviews to Hungry Man dinners. Okay, let's go heat up dinner number 3. Here's our final entry today, but of course we'll be continuing the series on Wednesday and Friday as we get through all 9 Canadian Hungry Man entries. This one is the most festive of the bunch as we look ahead to Thanksgiving. This is the seasoned white meat turkey, 15% meat protein with gravy, creamy mashed potatoes, corn, stuffing, and an apple cranberry dessert. I believe it's also the most calorie-friendly, coming in at only 460 calories. Most of these range between 600 to 900 calories, so this is actually quite light for the Hungry Man line. Lots to digest with the cover art. We have 4 white meat pieces of chicken, or as it's called here, turkey. It's the cold medication seeping in, or possibly some sort of degenerative brain disease. Nice hearty, bready pieces of stuffing. Of course, it wouldn't be a Hungry Man without the potatoes. You've got the corn, and then whatever this apple cranberry thing is. And now the reveal. Let's see how it compares to the box art. Wow, does that not look like the same thing? First of all, I don't know what's going on with this piece of turkey. I certainly did not do that when slitting the film. The stuffing is rock hard. Like, listen to this. I'm probably gonna chip a tooth trying to eat this. That felt like the chalk that you use on the end of your pool cue. This is not very appetizing. And then you've got the weird cranberry thing with a few extra little pieces of stuffing that has cross-contaminated the entire dish. From a cover art perspective, this gets a 2 out of 5, and I think that's a very generous 2, only because I can still identify the turkey. Okay, this turkey is super limp, falling apart, but not in like a strand kind of way. This is a turkey loaf. Swanson's. I assume a turkey gave its life to be part of this meal. It's possible it didn't, because that does not taste like turkey. But if it did, if you led a turkey to slaughter for this, you should be ashamed of yourself. I have a lot of thanks to give this year, this Thanksgiving, a lot of things to be thankful for. This turkey is not one of those things. The main course gets a 2 out of 10, and the 2 is only because you've added some sage. On to the side dishes. Let's start with some of this stuffing it is. It's not my experience, and maybe it's yours, but I've never needed a dentist after eating stuffing before. Stuffing is something that comes two ways. It's either slow roasted inside the cavity of a turkey for 8 to 10 hours, taking in all that amazing aroma and flavor and then being served out on a giant tray in front of your family. It's moist, it's flavorful, got lots of fresh herbs. If you've been really good, Mama snuck some sausage in there too. And then there's the kind that's made on the stovetop for 99 cents. This is neither of those. And then you've got this third option. This is not food. This is the gravel that local kids play street hockey on. This is a lawsuit waiting to happen. Now, perhaps having heard my feedback from moments ago, this potato comes already with gravy on it. Unfortunately, it also comes with the stuffing in it. I seriously think I chipped a tooth. Corn! Where are they finding this corn? If you assumed coming in that 3 side dishes would give this one an edge over previous competitors, you would be wrong. This gets 1 out of 10 because it caused me harm. And given that I'm already suffering from a man cold, I don't appreciate that. And finally, the dessert. What the even? So this is supposed to be an apple cranberry thing, but I know this red sauce. They went to their nearest Chinese restaurant, ordered chicken balls, and just had a ton of cherry sauce left over, just dumped it in here and called it dessert. Maybe it's meant to be used as a barbecue sauce, like the popcorn chicken. Here, let's try that instead. Oh no, no, no. That gets a 1. Giving the turkey an incredibly disappointing 6 out of 30. All right, we need to move on from that. Let's get some customer reviews. And I've got a whole lot on this one. Brandon D gives this 1 star and calls it a life-changing meal. This is the meal that a man eats right after a divorce, and it makes him reconsider getting back with his ex-wife. When you know how this tastes, and then you watch your child eat it, it makes you reevaluate how you're providing for your family. When those slim strips of processed meat hit your tongue, you realize you've made bad decisions in your life to get where you are. And finally, decide to make changes. The poverty-flavored potatoes makes you want to get your act together. This is the meal that makes you sad on Thanksgiving. This is the food that makes the struggle real. 27 people found this helpful. A lot of divorced dads know exactly what Brandon D is talking about. Our next review comes from Dex, who gives it 5 stars and calls it, "It's a microwave dinner." Response to Brandon D, the top-rated comment, "Stop complaining about your divorce. This is just a microwave dinner. There is no need to make it deeper than that and be so depressing over a hungry man microwave dinner." 9 people found this helpful. Dex, you are completely and totally incorrect. Nothing has ever rung more true to me than the term poverty potatoes. Jimmy gives this 1 star, writes, "Revolting turkey? Dinner." This is a very unappetizing TV dinner. One gets 2 or 3 rubbery slices of something turkey. A few cubes of stuffing, is that what those cubes are? And some gross mashed potatoes all in one compartment with some watery looking brown gravy. The veggies were okay and the cranberry thing was liquid glop. The manufacturer should be giving these away rather than charging for such a putrid turkey entree. Finally, Angie U gives this 1 star and writes, "It's rotten and smells like musky dirt." Mine came rotten, or I assume because it had a flavor of moss or dirt and a heavy smell of it. Very musky, yes, I did attempt eating it. Tried a few bites, spit out all but 1. I regret the spitting it out. I love hungry man meals and stuff, but this was so nasty it made me sick, or maybe literally. 1 person found this helpful. I certainly didn't share that experience, but Angie, I'm telling you now, if your food comes with moss or dirt, a heavy smell of it, possibly some fuzz, you're gonna wanna spit all of it out and not most of it. Perhaps that's why you're literally sick. And speaking of literally sick, I need to go attend to my man cold. Of course, I will be back on Wednesday. We'll see whether or not I'm still under the weather, as these things do tend to linger. Linger like the smell of hungry man is lingering in my house. Disappointment. If you're enjoying these series, I would certainly love it if you subscribed to this channel, liked the video, and left a comment down below. Tell me what you think and what your favorite Hungry Man is. I look forward to reading, and until then, I will catch you on the next one.